Hello there, David here. Now, in this coffee break, we are going to talk about retargeting, the idea of doing what's called pixeling your blog traffic. Now, if we back up one episode, go back to the previous episode, we did a smackdown between free traffic and paid traffic. We did talk about why the benefits of paid traffic and how you really do need to mix it in with your quote unquote free traffic. Now, when it comes to the paid traffic side of things, it just so happens that retargeting is one of the easiest ways to get started with this. It is really cheap and very, very effective. Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. Now, the first reason I want you to understand why this is so important, and this will be clear because we've talked about the idea of bounce rate in the past. What it comes down to is that all blogs, and in fact all websites, have an inherent inefficiency, and that inefficiency is the fact that it doesn't exercise good control over people who come. And that is seen in the idea of bounce rate. The fact that you will have 60 to 70 to 80%, sometimes higher than that, of your overall traffic are simply going to come to the site and pretty quickly just bounce right off without visiting any other thing. So that's a pretty big inefficiency when you've got 80% of people that come into your digital doorway just immediately back off and go. That sucks. We're sitting here trying to grow our business and we have that going on. Well, there are ways around that. At the end of the day, these people who are bouncing off your blog, and they might have found the blog post useful, but they still left. They still left without seeing some of your best stuff, or without looking at those things that will actually help grow your business. For example, getting onto your list by getting a lead magnet, maybe signing up for a webinar, maybe subscribing to a podcast so they have a long-term connection with you. Those things that basically you want people to do, most people are going to leave your site without doing those things. And it's not because they don't find your blog good or useful. Some are definitely in that category, but others, they probably did find value in that blog post, but they're just in a big darn hurry. Everybody seems to be in a big hurry. They're starved for attention. I mean, you've done this probably many, many times where you go to somebody's site, but you're Googling for something, you find the answer on somebody's blog, and you're like, wow, that was really useful. And you just leave. It's nothing personal. You didn't hate their blog, but you didn't sign up for their email list, did you? Chances are you didn't. That happens all the time, okay? And it doesn't mean that your content sucks or anything like that. This is just what makes, this is just the way things work. It's kind of like gravity. People are starved for attention. They're always in a hurry. They're going around like they've got the whole ADD thing going on, which is kind of a dumb label, but that's my personal opinion. And it just is what it is. So how can we short circuit this problem? How can we get around it? Well, we can do retargeting. It's the second list. I've said before many, many times. In fact, we spent many podcast episodes talking about the importance of building up your email list with lead magnets and things like that. That's your first list, and it is the most important. But the second list that you should be building is your retargeting list. It is the second priority of your blog. So first, before we go too much deeper into this, what the hell is this? What is retargeting if you're not familiar with the topic? Well, retargeting simply means that when you go to a site, that site is connected up with a supplier of ad inventory. Now, this could be Facebook. It could be some banner ad network, whatever. Now, so what's going to happen is a little cookie gets placed on your computer that basically just shows that you've been to that website before. That's all it's doing. There's no personally identifiable information in there. It's completely and totally anonymous, but it just connects you, or more accurately, it connects your web browser to the fact that you arrived on this particular site. And what that does is it allows that site to put paid advertising in front of you for themselves when you are on other people's sites. So let's say that somebody comes to the Blog Marketing Academy. They've been there and they were in one of those high percentage of people. I don't know what my bounce rate is off the top of my head, but the average blog tends to be in the 60 to 70% range. So I'm probably right up in there. So you were in one of those 60%, 70% who just came to the Blog Marketing Academy, checked out one of the blog posts, and then left. Okay, all right, fine. Now, you were cookied. You got a cookie placed inside your browser, which means that you could be sitting on some news website somewhere, let's just say Yahoo News, and you might see my banner ad show up. It isn't because I've got some kind of fancy relationship with Yahoo. It's because you have a retargeting pixel on your browser, which allows me to put my ads in front of you, regardless of where you are. Same thing with Facebook, is you can retarget on Facebook as well. You show up on somebody's blog, site, whatever kind of site it might be, and all of a sudden you're seeing their ads. That's sponsored posts inside of Facebook, or maybe in the right column on Facebook. That's retargeting. You know you're being retargeted when you visit somebody's page and then it seems like they're stalking you. That's retargeting. A lot of this is going on, and in fact, it's one of the major drivers of banner ad inventory on the internet today. Huge thing. Now, if you integrate this into your blog, it drastically increases the efficiency of the blog, because every single visitor of your blog is going to be set up with a retargeting pixel. And that means you have the ability to reach out to them using paid advertising and bring them back in at any point. Now, why do we call it pixel? Like, what is this idea of pixeling? Well, pixeling is basically the idea of how how that cookie gets put on their machine in the first place. So essentially what's happening is when you set up with retargeting, the network is going to give you a little blob of code, just a little bit of JavaScript code, and you're going to go and you're going to set that up in your blog. And essentially what that's doing is setting up a little one by one, practically invisible image file, and it puts it into the website. So that image gets pulled up in your visitor's browser, but behind the scenes, what's happening with that image is that it's got some code in there that actually puts the cookie on their machine. So that's what it means. When pixeling somebody essentially means that you are putting the cookie on their machine. You're dropping this pixel in their browser, kind of like any other image that might be on your website. It's just that this is something that's actually got a script behind it that installs the cookie. Okay? Now, if this is something that freaks you out, seriously stop freaking out, because the internet's you are being cookied all the time, unless you're absolutely paranoid. You got a ton of blocks up and all this stuff. This is just the way it works. If you go to a forum and when you go back to the forum the next day and it remembers who you are, you've been cookied. If you go to Facebook and you don't have to log in every single time, you're being cookied. You probably have several hundred cookies installed inside your browser right now. Now, you can go and clear them out at any time you want, but they're there. And this is just the way the internet works. It's actually what makes the internet far less annoying because stuff will remember who you are and it can react accordingly. It actually improves the visitor experience. So that's how that works. When you drop a pixel, you are installing the retargeting cookie. Okay? Now, with this retargeting traffic, you can put banner ads in front of people on other people's sites. So let's say you are on Yahoo News. You see an ad for the Blog Marketing Academy. Great. That's retargeting. It's not because I've got some special relationship with Yahoo. It's just retargeting inventory. Now, what I can do and what I do is that I direct that ad into something that actually helps grow my business. So you can, such as I've brought them into trial offers before. I've sent them into my webinar. These are the types of things that I would do. Whereas it deals with that inefficiency of the blog, and that 70% plus of people are probably going to come and just immediately leave. The other 30% who don't immediately leave, they might click around, but it doesn't mean they're going to go to my registration page and get onto a webinar, or it doesn't mean they're going to subscribe to a podcast or do any of that stuff. They just kind of click around and read some more. And so with retargeting, the fact that I can go out there and meet them where they're at and bring them back in, I send that retargeting banner traffic directly into one of the things that grows the business. So that I actually direct the person into what I want, not let them do a free-for-all on the public blog. And so I hope you can see how this really, really adds a major level of efficiency to your blog. And in fact, if you are running a blog today and you don't have a retargeting pixel set up on it, you need to do that ASAP. Do it right away, because you could be building up that list. You can be building up that retargeting list. And even if you don't pay to reach anybody right now, you can still be building that asset. And it most definitely is an asset. It's not quite as valuable as your email list, but it's pretty darn up there. Because the other thing, and I want to give you some numbers here, well, not specific ones, but not only does retargeting paid traffic very, very cheap, because you're only paying to reach a limited pool of people. We're only talking about the people who have been to your site. Okay, so you don't have to worry about all these complicated targeting options and stuff like that. It's just merely the fact that they've been to your site. Okay, so because of the limitation there, it's cheap. You're not paying to reach the entire world. The other thing is that retargeting traffic is typically highly effective. The ROI is many, many times. I think right now, off the top of my head, I got a pretty limited retargeting campaign going on right now, but just to put it in perspective of what I'm paying, about $15 a month in retargeting traffic. It's about to go up because I'm changing the campaign around, but this is not expensive stuff. And I do track the conversions, and it's not difficult at all to see a 6x, 7x, sometimes higher ROI from this, because we're not talking about much investment at all. And you got to basically have a pretty crummy offer to not make that money back. Okay. So it's highly effective, and it just makes sense. It just makes sense to build this as an asset. Now, here's another thing that you can do, and some companies are now doing that, and I'll probably be getting into the game soon, but at least as of this recording, I'm not doing it, and that is to run paid traffic from the likes of Facebook into actual blog content. Now, that seems counterintuitive because a typical blog post is not usually going to make you money directly. But here's the thing. What you can do is, because Facebook loves content, they would much rather you put content in front of their people on a paid basis than a sales letter, okay? So you are paying Facebook to drive traffic to a highly valuable blog post. Now, there's two things. One is you put a call to action inside that blog post, so you do turn it into a marketing piece. It's just not hitting them over the head with it. But the other thing that you're doing is you are dropping a retargeting pixel on every single person who comes over, okay? So what you're doing is you're actually investing in the domain authority of your blog by getting more shares on your site, because you're paying to send people directly into content, but you're building that retargeting list. You're building that asset, because then you can turn around using the retargeting list and funnel these people into things that grow your business. So it's a little bit less direct, but the people that I've talked to about this say that it's very effective, because it's cheaper to advertise to content on Facebook than it is to advertise directly to sales letters and stuff like that. Okay. So you get much cheaper traffic, but then because you get them into the retargeting list, it's much cheaper to drive traffic into things like your squeeze pages and your webinars or what have you. So I don't know how the whole thing works out in a net expense basis, but I've heard really good things in terms of overall marketing results. And you're getting that, domain authority, because incoming links and shares and stuff like that all counts toward the authority of your domain name. So if you are putting money into actually distributing and enhancing content rather than sales messages, you're going to get more people sharing that stuff because it's content, okay? And you'll get cheaper traffic into the site, yada, 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 okay? So hopefully you can get the idea of just how effective this can be. I definitely recommend that you get started with this. If you go to Facebook, you can set up a retargeting audience directly. I'm not going to get into the how-to right here, but essentially you're setting up a website custom audience, and you can say anybody who's visited my site, or you can even narrow it down to people who have visited specific URLs on your site, and you can retarget them. Now, to get into the technicals on this and how it all kind of clicks together, the best place that I have to send you would be to run into the Blog Monetization Lab. That's the blogmonetizationlab.com. And the most recent office hours call, which is all there in recording, was how to set up your retargeting plan for your blog and how to get it set up on your blog, and actually show it in video format. So that's the best thing that I've got at this point. I am going to be repurposing some of that into an action plan, but again, all of it will be found inside the Blog Monetization Lab, and you can learn more about the Blog Monetization Lab at blogmonetizationlab.com. Okay? Hopefully you found this one enlightening. I surely hope you did, because retargeting, pixeling your traffic is just one of those no-brainer things you really, really should be doing. And you should be doing this right now. I'll also say this before we end off. It's going to get potentially a lot tougher to do paid traffic as more and more people get into the game. There's going to be more people trying to buy the limited inventory. So it really comes down to the fact that if you don't have a retargeting audience set up, then it could get to a point where it can become cost prohibitive to run paid traffic unless you have that retargeting audience, okay? So I really, really recommend that you think ahead and start pixeling people as soon as you possibly can. And to help you with that, we do have the retargeting office hours call found inside blogmonetizationlab.com, okay? I will see you on the next episode of Coffee Break Blogging. Thanks for listening.